Got to give the people what they want. All right, y'all. I'm out of class today, so this is going to be a little bit different. Y'all are going to run through this with me individually, and it's just practicing this stuff in 5.1, so you're going to do it today. This video might be long. It might end up being 2 of them, and that's all good because this is pretty much all your classwork for today. So just follow along, do what we're doing, make sure you're making sense out of things. 5.1. All right, so this is how you use those identities yesterday to evaluate a function that you did for homework, actually. 1. First of all, determine the quadrant of the function using the unit circle. 2. Use identities to convert from one form to the next, all right? So things that you look at. Use those reciprocal identities to find partner function values. So if you know tangent, you can figure out cotangent. You just got to flip it. 2, use those Pythagorean identities to find connected values, right? So one of them, if you know a sine, you could find cosine by solving it. If you know cosecant, you can learn cotangent from it. If you know tangent, you can learn secant from it. Okay? 3rd, use those quotient identities. You can use those when you know what sine and cosine are. Okay? Then you could use those cofunction identities. So when you see like a pi over 2 minus something, you should be thinking about the cofunction identities. Then you can use the even and odd identities when you see something that has a negative x in there. Then you can figure out those identities. All right. So you copy those down. Now let's put this stuff to work. Let's actually do number 1, which is right here. So number 1 says, all right, I know that the secant of x is negative 3 over 2, and I know the tangent of x is greater than 0. I have to find all 6 trig functions. Notice the things that I have available. I got my, unit circle. I'm looking at my identities, and I got my steps, all right? So we're going to do this first one together because we're learning how to do this, all right? So step 1, what did it tell me to do? It says determine the quadrant using the unit circle. Okay, so I'm looking at this and I'm saying, well, I see that the secant is negative and I see that the tangent is greater than 0, which means it's positive. So I got to look, where's the secant negative and tangent is positive? Secant is negative right here. Ooh, why would I do that? The secant is negative right here, and the tangent is positive right here. So I'm thinking quadrant 3. So first of all, I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, okay, let me make sure that this matches for quadrant 3. Okay, so it says use identities to convert from one form to the next. So let's see. Let me look at the reciprocal identities. So far, I'm going to figure out, okay, I'm going to write down here, I'm going to be like, okay, well, do I know what sine is? Do I know cosine? Do I know tangent? And then do I know their opposites? Do I know cosecant? Do I know secant? And do I know cotangent? All right, those are the 6 we got to find. So what do I know already? I know secant is negative 3 over 2. I'm going to make this bigger. Secant is negative 3 over 2. So I know the reciprocal of secant is cosine. So cosine should be negative 2 over 3, right? That's just using the reciprocal identities. Okay. So I know that so far. So let me go back here. Now it says, let me try the Pythagorean identities. All right, so let's look at these Pythagorean identities. I happen to know a cosine, so I could use this Pythagorean identity. If I know what cosine is, I can fill stuff in to find sine. So Pythagorean identities say that sine squared of something plus cosine squared of something equals 1. Is that correct? Yep. Okay, so I know that the sine squared of x plus, I already know that the cosine is negative 2/3, so I'm going to take negative 2/3 squared, and that should equal 1, right? So you see I'm just plugging this in. So I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to say sine squared of x plus negative 2/3 squared is what? Negative 2/3 times negative 2/3, which is 4/9 plus 4/9 should equal 1. And now I'm going to solve this for sine, so I'm going to go minus 4/9 minus 4/9. Those cancel. So sine squared x equals 1 minus 4/9. 1 is 9/9. That's the same as 1 minus 4/9 equals, what's that? 5/9. So 5/9. Okay, so now I have sine squared, but I really just need sine. So I got to take the square root, and I got to take the square root. So the sine of x equals the square root of 5/3, right? The square root of 9, this is, just to make sure we remember, this is the square root of 5 over the square root of 9. The square root of 5 I can't simplify, but the square root of 9 is 3. Now here's the thing though. I need to figure out, is this a positive or a negative? So here is where I go back to the quadrant, right? Because this answer could be either positive or negative. But I got to go back to the quadrant. What quadrant were we working in? We said this thing is in quadrant 3. So notice that in quadrant 3, sine has to be negative. So coming all the way back here, this is negative root 5/3. So I'm going to say the sine is negative root 5/3. Okay, so now if I know sine, I know its reciprocal, right? So if sine is negative root 5/3, that means that the opposite of sine is cosecant. Cosecant should be negative 3/5, because it's just the reciprocal of sine. Okay, so you're like, I got this. Now you just got to simplify it. How do I get rid of root 5 in the denominator? Times root 5/5, and I end up with negative 3/5. That is the cosecant. So let's write this down. Negative 3/5. All right. What do we got left? We got tangent and cotangent. But I go here, and I'll be like, oh, right? When I know, get bigger. Well, when I know sine and cosine, I can use the quotient identity. And the quotient identity gives me tangent. So tangent is sine over cosine. So let's do this. Tangent equals sine negative root 5/3 divided by cosine negative 2/3. Well, if I want to do that, I'm going to write it a different way. I'm going to take negative root 5/3 divided by cosine negative 2/3. Then I'm going to be like, well, how do I divide fractions? I flip the second fraction and I multiply. So negative root 5/3 times 3/-2. And I'm going to cancel these 3's out, and I end up with a negative root 5/-2, over -2, which is root 5/2. That is my tangent. Notice it's positive, and let's check up here. Oh yeah, if I look up here, the tangent should be positive because we're in quadrant 3. See how it all goes together. So the tangent became root 5/2. Root 5/2. I'm going to leave more space when I do that next time. And finally, the cotangent is the reciprocal of tangent. So if tangent is root 5/2, cotangent is 2 over root 5. And if we simplify that, times root 5 over root 5, we get 2 root 5 over 5. 2 root 5 over 5. Boom. All that work to do that one problem. So you see how we went through the entire thing. We found all the identities. We put a whole bunch of information together. I like it. Shoot. I think I love it. Let's do number 2. Boom, boom, boom. Here it is. I think I'm going to need more space for this. So let me take this out of here. Now I'm going to cut that thing and we'll copy it in later. Let's do number 2. All right, write down number 2. I have the tangent of x being 1/3. I have the cosine of x being less than 0. And I got to find the 6 trig functions. All right, so you wrote that down. So what was the first step we talked about? We said, okay, let me figure out the quadrant first. All right, so I got to figure out, why don't you figure out what quadrant is the tangent positive and the cosine negative? So hopefully you stopped and figured that out for yourself. It's not quadrant 1. Tangent is positive, cosine is negative. It's not quadrant 2. Tangent is positive. Oh, cosine is negative. It looks like we are in quadrant 3 again. So let's do this. Let's remind ourselves this is quadrant 3. Okay. So let's now start to use our identities to convert. Easiest one is always the reciprocal identities. So let's go ahead and write what we know. Let's go ahead and write these down. Sine, notice I'm going to skip lines this time. I think it'll be easier. Sine, cosine, tangent. The opposite of sine is cosecant. The opposite of cosine is secant. And the reciprocal of tangent is cotangent. Okay. So what do we know? We know that the tangent is 1/3. Beautiful. So if we know the tangent is 1/3, we know the cotangent is 3, or 3 over 1. All right, we're looking good. We got 2 of 6. Now, what do we know? Let's see. Pythagorean. Let's see if we can use any Pythagoreans to help us out. All right, so if I'm looking at my Pythagorean identities here, this one talks about sine and cosine, but I don't know any of those. This one, right here, talks about tangent. So we know that 1 plus tangent squared of x equals secant squared of x. All right, well, the thing that we know is tangent. So let's mess with that. So 1 plus tangent is 1/3 squared equals secant squared of x. All right, I'm feeling pretty good right now. What do you think you're going to do next? Why don't you go ahead and finish this off and see if you could do it before me. Pause right here would be a good idea. Hopefully you paused and tried it, and now you're either saying, okay, did I do it right or did I do it wrong? So you're like, okay, well, 1 plus 1/3 squared is 1/3 times 1/3, which is 1/9. 1 plus 1/9 equals secant squared of x. All right, this feels pretty good. Oh, easy. So 1 plus 1/9, what is 1? 9/9 plus 1/9 equals secant squared. So that's 10/9 equals secant squared. But I don't want to know secant squared. I want to know secant. Don't forget that. So I'm going to take the square root, and I'm going to take a square root. So I get root 10 over 3 equals secant of x. Now remember, I have to decide, is this the positive version or the negative version? So I'm going to go back to my quadrant 3, and I'm going to look. What is secant? Secant should be negative in quadrant 3. So this is going to be negative. Let me erase this. This is ultimately going to be negative root 10 over 3. So let's see here. Secant is negative root 10 over 3. Okay, well, now that I know secant, which other one can I figure out? You should be like, oh, well, what is secant the reciprocal of? And that is the reciprocal of cosine. So if secant is negative root 10 over 3, that means cosine is negative 3 over root 10. I just flip them. So let me go ahead and rationalize that because I can't have a root in the denominator. I end up with negative 3 root 10 over 10. I figured out cosine. Cosine is negative 3 root 10 over 10. Now all I got to do is figure out sine. Okay, so there are some ways to do this. Let's figure out sine. I'm going to go to my Pythagorean identities. Remember, I use these to find a connected value. So I can see that in my Pythagorean identities, if I know sine, if I know one of those, either sine or cosine, I can figure out the other one. So let's do that thing again. So I know that, I might have to go down here now. Sine squared plus cosine squared equals 1. Which one do I know? I know cosine. So sine squared x plus negative 3 root 10 over 10 squared equals 1. I know cosine, so I can figure out cosine squared. Let's keep this party going. Negative 3 root 10 over 10 times itself, negative 3 root 10 over 10. All right, well, negative 3 times negative 3 is 9. Root 10 times root 10 is 10. 10 times 10 is 100. So this becomes 90 over 100, which simplifies to 9 over 10. So apparently, squared, this is 9 over 10 equals 1 plus sine squared x, right? Okay, we're getting close. So now I still got to subtract minus 9 over 10 minus 9 over 10. So I have sine squared x equals 1 minus 9 over 10. So you're like, what is that? 1 is 10 over 10 minus 9 over 10 equals 1/10. So I have sine squared x equals 1 over 10. Here was that sine squared x being equal to 1/10. Let's take that square root. Let's take that square root. I have sine of x equals, the square root of 1 is 1, and the square root of 10 is the square root of 10. Let's go ahead and get rid of that. And that equals root 10 over 10. So sine equals root 10 over 10. Last thing I need to check. Quadrant 3, is sine positive or negative? Sine is negative. So sine should be negative root 10 over 10. Negative root 10 over 10. And it should be then the reciprocal of that to find cosecant is going to be, what is this? 10, negative 10 over root 10. I just flipped it over, right? I took the reciprocal of this, and go ahead and rationalize it, and I end up with negative 10 root 10 over 10. These can cancel out, so I end up with just a negative root 10. Cosecant is negative root 10. I just found them all. Woo! That's a long one. That's some serious work. But that's all right. Y'all got this. Let's move on. Let's go example. I know for you all it's 3, but we're just going to go to this one. Call it example 4. Okay? So, actually, I'm going to pause this one right here, and we'll start a new video so they're broken up a little bit. All right, I'm out. I'll be back in a second.